Okay, playoff power rankings. So I told you guys teams wouldn't move, and they really didn't. 31, Ottawa. 30, Montreal. 29, New York Rangers. 28, Detroit. 27, Chicago. 26, Buffalo. 25, Calgary. 24, New York Islanders. 23, Edmonton Oilers. 22, Vancouver Canucks. 21, Dallas Stars. 20, Carolina Hurricanes. 19, Arizona Coyotes. 18, St. Louis Blues. And 17, Florida Panthers. In order for one of these teams to make a move, there'd have to be a significant move made by said team. Now, whether it's a big free agent signing or something happening that would change the look of the team going forward, something has to happen in order for me to change their ranking on this board. Otherwise, it all stays the same until the offseason. And once teams are eliminated from the playoffs, they will take their place pretty much just lodged to the board. So let's get down to the 16 teams this week. Number 16, Toronto. Toronto goes in and they lose their 2 games in Boston. And honestly, just by the score itself, I couldn't justify having Toronto any higher up. I know Maple Leaf fans are upset. I will say this. Look where you were 2 years ago. The Leafs right now, they're still ahead of schedule. So they get a ton of points this year. They finish, in the top 8 of the league or whatever it was, top 5 of the league. They're a very good team. They're a very inexperienced team, and this is where that experience comes in. And experience is always a painful experience. It's not fun. And the Leafs are learning this year, and I still think they're going to win a Stanley Cup at some point, but I'm seeing a lot of posts online and groups I belong to, and just in general from Leafs fans who are seemingly apoplectic about where their team is at right now. And I don't think it's that dire long term. Just this series may very well. They'd have to win 4 out of 5 against Boston now. That's tough. Number 15, New Jersey. And again, it's because they're 0-2. It's not that they've played badly against Tampa. They're just playing Tampa. And at the start of the year, if I told New Jersey fans, hey, you guys are going to be just above the midway mark of the entire league at the end of the year, they would have taken it. They would have said, we're going to make the playoffs. That's awesome. Number 14. Also down 0-2 is Minnesota. And Minnesota, it's hard for me with this. So here's where it gets difficult to figure this grading teams that have only lost in the playoffs. Toronto's getting the shots, but they're not stopping anything. New Jersey, they're getting some bad breaks. Defensemen putting pucks in their own nets. Minnesota's not getting shots, but they're getting fantastic goaltending. So, any of these 3, you could argue could be 16th, 15th, 14th, and you might be right. But in 13th, and I really believe these guys are outplaying the other 3, and that's Colorado. It's almost criminal that Colorado comes out of this week's playoff matchup with no wins. They at least deserved a split in Nashville, and it just didn't happen. The Avalanche now are, again, like these other 3, they have to win 4 out of 5 to win this round. And you're against Boston, you're against Tampa, you're against Winnipeg, and you're against Nashville. And those are all very tall orders. If New Jersey decided they didn't want to play Pittsburgh, they'd rather play Toronto. If that's a thing, that they rested guys in their last game because they'd rather play anybody but Pittsburgh, it looks like they made an error. I don't believe that. I think it's just a matter of you don't want somebody to get hurt in your last game, so you rest players. But New Jersey's paying the price right now, playing against a team that just looks fantastic. And Colorado, Minnesota, and Toronto are in much the same position. Number 12, Anaheim Ducks. The Mighty Ducks, as they were called when this was made. But the Anaheim Ducks are legitimately right now in trouble. They lose 2 games at home, which you could say they lost 2 at home. These teams lost 2 on the road. They belong at the back of the aisle. Maybe, however, it's been really close. And Gibson's played well, and it's been rough. They get shut out in the first game. Tonight it was really close. It's a tough call. Again, I'm trying to to quantify, okay, well, which team's playing really well that's lost both games so far, and it's tough. So hopefully next week it's a little easier for me to figure out 16 through 12. It'd have to be, because a couple of them would likely be out. But yeah, it's a tough go for Anaheim, and it's a tough go for LA. Yeah, LA's at 11th. They lose the first game 1-0. They lose the second game 2-1 in double overtime. Because of the fact they went to double overtime and they're on the road, I will put them ahead of any of these teams. But LA playing better than these teams doesn't make a difference in the playoffs. That's where power rankings in the playoffs get really strange. And yet, I'm not the only one who's going to be doing power rankings in the playoffs. Because you can play well in losses, but they're losses. So for LA right now, you have moral victories. You can say, well, we only lost in double overtime when we were missing Doughty and Muzzin, but the history books will only remember that they lost. They'll only remember, hey, who was it Vegas beat that first year in the league? LA. Holy crap, they beat the Kings. Number 10, Washington. So Washington is the last team on this list without a win. And think about it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of 16 teams in the playoffs haven't tasted victory yet. Washington right now has 10th because they've only lost 1. If they lose game 2 tomorrow and they lose it by, say, 3 or 4 goals, they'll drop below LA, San Jose, and Colorado in my books. And, you know, we'll see what happens in the other series as well, because Minnesota has a shot at getting back into their series. It is going to be a very, very interesting playoffs from here. But Washington, if they go out in the first round, they've got to start doing something to fix it. Washington is not, in my eyes, they're not a contender. They can absolutely win tomorrow and get a split in Colorado or Columbus and take back home ice. But for them, it's going to be a tough haul. It's going to be a really tough haul for them. In 9th place, the not-so-dead Philadelphia Flyers. Well, I mean, after the 7-0 loss, would you have believed me if I had said, well, I'll still have Philly ahead of Toronto, New Jersey, Minnesota, Colorado, Anaheim, LA, and Washington this week? No, and I wouldn't have believed it. I'm like, well, 16th, Philly. The interesting thing about the power rankings and the way I did them is that I just did them tonight. So I'm not doing them night by night by night, because you really don't have to. Now it's playoffs. It's one-on-one matchups, and it's completely different. It's a different animal. So Philly moves up to 9th because they won that game in Pittsburgh, and they won it convincingly 5-1. And it at least mutes the Penguins a little bit, because now they have to win a game in Philly, which they can do. But it now becomes a little bit tougher than it probably is going to be for some of the other teams up at the top. And it is a war of attrition in the playoffs, and if you start seeing guys get hurt, like Letang, and you start seeing guys go out, it can be a major problem as you move on to the next round and you're against a healthier opponent. Maybe a more physically brutal opponent than the one who just knocked you out. So in 8th spot are the Penguins, who are going to start facing some adversity as soon as now. The Penguins came out, they won that first game 7-0, and it looked fantastic. But and I'll give Don Cherry credit on this one. When a team comes out and you beat on somebody like that, and you wallop them 7-0, that team now has an attitude and a chip on their shoulder going into the next game. When you lose and it's a squeaker and it's a really close, it can be more devastating than just getting destroyed. Because when you just get destroyed, you go, okay, we'll take that game and throw it out and just get our game back the next game. We know we didn't play our best. In no way did we play our best, and we'll figure it out next game. And Philly did that. So Pittsburgh, I still put them ahead of Philly, but they have to win in Philly. At number 7, Columbus. They've only played the one game, and they won it. So because they haven't lost, they won in overtime, but they haven't won 2, they go 7. It's that simple. Columbus, big overtime win. We'll see if they can get another one in Washington, and maybe Columbus will break out of the doldrums as a team that's never won a round in the playoffs. Maybe coming out of these playoffs, we will not have a single NHL team that's never won a round. That would be very, very interesting, because we talk a lot about parity, but when you're looking and you're saying, well, every team's won a round, then you've really actually got it. Then you're not just talking about it. And Columbus never having won a round kind of on some level disproves parity in the playoffs. Number 6, impressive win tonight. Impressive 2 wins on the road. San Jose is absolutely right now on the road to the next round, and winning both games in Anaheim is huge for them. I think the Sharks, Martin Jones has played 2 very solid games. Their defense looks great. Their offense is opportunistic, and their special teams are in good shape. So, yeah, San Jose right now looks like they're going to make it to the next round. Number 5. Really? So, going into the playoffs, there were a lot of us, myself included, and right now, guilty. Vegas is against LA. Well, LA has all that experience. Experience is important in the playoffs. It's not, though. Vegas has confidence, and they have this incredible fan base. As they went to the airport to leave, there was a parade. It's like a parade, the way that everybody lined up on the streets to see them off. The city of Las Vegas has been captured in this incredible moment. And I heard an announcer yesterday say that he didn't think that fans in Vegas completely understood just how amazing this run was. I disagree. I think Vegas fans are well aware of how incredible a position they're in, that there was nobody who gave them a chance to be here, myself included. Every magazine, every pundit everywhere said Vegas was going to be a bottom feeder this year, and that they had a good ground game for getting it together in about 3 years, that they'd be dangerous about 3 years. They're dangerous now. Vegas has been playing playoff hockey all year. Number 4, Boston. I'm very excited about Boston's 2 wins so far. They've been impressive, but at the same time, Toronto's defense has been unimpressive. Boston's kind of had their way with Toronto's defense, and it's made their goaltending look weak when it's really not. It's just a matter of Toronto's defense not being strong enough for playoff hockey. And Boston's been pushing Toronto around. I was having a debate on Facebook today about whether or not the Boston Bruins are goons. They're not goons. It's just they go into a game tonight. They know that Toronto came out scared. And you look at the pregame, and I mentioned this in the reviews, and Toronto looks kind of timid, and Boston's all gung-ho, like we're going to go out and get them. And Boston's playing that way on the ice, that they're gung-ho and they're going to go out and get them. And it's an intimidating sight, I would imagine, for the opposing team, and Toronto played like it was. This is where Austin Matthews has to step up and prove that he's worth the millions and millions of dollars he's going to get later. And is it fair? No. He's still a kid. It's not fair to expect that of him, but it's going to be expected of him. Number 3, Tampa. Tampa has played well enough to win their first 2 games. There are still some spots that I think Tampa fans would be wanting to see get fixed, but I'm going to tell you right now, if Tampa and Boston play in the next round, I'm really going to enjoy that round. That'll be one heck of a series between 2 teams that play a very fun style of hockey. I still think Tampa's the best team in the East. I haven't seen anything so far to make me think that I'm wrong about that. If Tampa gets the sweep, and if Boston has 4 or 5 over Toronto, and if they're both well rested for the next round, look out, this could be some great hockey. Absolutely great. Number 2, Nashville, who I know Colorado fans aren't happy about them being up 2-0, but they're fantastic, and they're opportunistic, and their goaltending is really solid, which means number 1, again this week, the Winnipeg Jets. The Jets right now look like they're on a mission. The second game over Minnesota was really impressive. And again, you have Nashville and Winnipeg look like they're on a collision course. Tampa and Boston, Vegas and San Jose, and potentially Columbus and Pittsburgh. I'm really anxious to see the second round. I think the second round is going to be amazing. I think we're going to see some of the best hockey we've ever seen. If we get these 6 teams, so San Jose, Vegas, Boston, Tampa, Nashville, Winnipeg, the hockey's going to be fantastic. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, this is the shortest power rankings I've ever done, and they're only going to get shorter from here. But again, teams down here won't move until moves are made with rosters, and that'll probably be in the postseason or after the postseason. But thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.